Hello everyone and welcome back to the HCW YouTube channel and welcome back to another show review and welcome back once again to Alex Connors. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good. Aching after an extremely busy weekend, but you also had a busy weekend, so that's always good news. Better than a boring one.
Yeah, especially because you do the wrestling, I do the drinking, so my liver's aching, your body's aching.
Yeah, I feel like I may have taken the short straw.
You did indeed, but we are
I
here.
don't. I don't drink, obviously, so my liver feels pretty good.
Yeah, you should drink. No. So we are here to discuss Kamikaze Pro Live 44, which was on the 20th of April at the Kamikaze Pro Dojo, the home of the dojo. That's a terrible intro, but we're continuing. So we kicked off with a match which was Ronnie G versus Chantal Jordan. So we can discuss because we haven't recorded it yet, but we might as well discuss stuff that happened on the previous night if it's in reference, because spoilers are spoilers anyway. So Ronnie G came off a match with Luke Douglas, and Chantal fought against Mashuki Jr.,
Mo-
wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah, Mochizuki Jr. and they both won.
Yeah.
So big scalps really, obviously on different scales, but big scalps for both of them. Mochizuki Jr., former champion Dragon Gate, he came with his 4FW belt, I believe, and,
Hmm.
and Chantel picked up the win. And Ronnie, obviously, facing someone we know and love, but Luke Douglas still is far more accoladed than Ronnie G, so a big scalp for him as well.
Exactly, but on a live segment, Ronnie G's been very hit and miss recently, and facing someone like Chantel Jordan was going to be a big task. So it kicked off with Ronnie G wanting Chantel to dab. The crowd were adamant because he kept going, "Do you want Chantel to dab?" And they went, "No, no, no, we don't want him to dab." And it was just like all he could hear in his head was "Yes, yes, we do."
Yeah.
And then Chantel was just like, and she did it anyway. But yeah, no one wanted that dab, probably, unfortunately.
No, not Chantel's style at all, but still a very friendly opening match. This was. There was a lot of respect,
Hmm.
handshakes, and a totally clean fight. So I think Chantel was more indulging Ronnie before she kicked his head off.
Exactly. Straight after that, Chantel brutal kicks one after another, and Ronnie she was just like, "Oh, dab, and then I'm going to kill you."
Yeah,
Ronnie then got the upper hand for a bit and was throwing a few of his moves, like his fall away, etc., like that, trying to get back into the game. Chantel then got back in the troll. She was working his back a lot, which obviously a lot of Ronnie G's moves are power based, kind of like the rock
yeah.
bottom, claymore, you're going to land on your back, so it's good to work at the back. Ronnie then was taking kicks and summoned Hulka Warrior is what I wrote here.
He did. He did.
So he went Hulkamania and then he went Warrior at the same time. Ronnie
Yeah, it was
summons a
it was an
lot.
interesting moment
Yeah,
because at the start of the match, every time he was taking a kick, he was basically getting electrocuted. He was
yeah,
absolutely on fire. He was in a lot of pain. He was not really ready to take any kind of offense like that. And also, he was refusing to strike back. He was keeping his match clean, technical wrestling, but he wasn't going to hit a much shorter girl like Chantel Jordan. And she was just lighting him up, and he could not handle it at all. He was not fighting through the pain. So, yeah, this was really a turning point. Not only did he get the adrenaline to take a few strikes and carry on the fight, but I think eventually at this point he actually returned some strikes.
yeah. Like people need to realise at this point that Chantel, she obviously you need to hit Chantel. She's gonna hit you, like and you in wrestling you're in a match. Hit her. um,
Yeah,
and then at that point, Ronnie went for the People's Dab, missed it because he calls out the People's Dab. So Chantel was a bit more craftier than most people, so that will
yeah.
probably not hit. Landed it the second time though, because I don't think she expected him to just go straight back to the well. Um, he was then caught
And
in the
also
troll.
he ran less, I
Yeah,
believe. Obviously, as we're aware, if you've ever seen the People's Elbow, very similar to the People's Dab. I believe
yeah,
Rock has been inspired by Ronnie G over the years. And normally it's obviously the one rope over your opponent, the other rope, come back, drop the elbow. I think the second time he just went to one rope, which is obviously a much shorter speed to get that elbow in. And so, yeah, he did manage to hit it the second time. The most electrifying move in Ronnie G Entertainment, but it did not pick up the win.
did not pick up the win. Chantal then caught him in a triangle choke. Had him out for a while. He was able to power out, get a bomb.
Into the buckle, I think.
Yeah,
That was the closest I think he came to winning this match. That was really impressive.
yeah.
I think for the first half, it was sort of one-way traffic, and I don't think either me or you, I was on comms for this match, really felt like Chantel was in any danger of losing for the first half.
Mm-hmm.
She was confident and in charge. But yeah, he picked her up, her entire weight on one arm, lifted her all the way up, and powerbombed her right into the buckle. And then was it straight into a claymore when she ricocheted out, I think?
Yep,
And
straight into a Claymore, yeah.
that was the closest he came to winning. That was a very near fall indeed. He could have picked it up right there.
What I like about Chantal, she knew that was close, so she just kicked his head off and picked up the win. She decided, yep, that's
Yeah.
enough.
Panic stations, no more games. Just every roundhouse after that was headed right for the head until she finally connected with one, and he was out.
Yeah. So Ronnie G did put off a good showing, but Chantal is Chantal Jordan. We're rated 2.5 stars. Pretty decent matchup.
Yeah, it was a very good opener. It was perfect for the crowd because there was some fun and games with Ronnie G. He often opens a show because he is so entertaining to watch. But the second half of this match, he got his serious working boots on, and they had a really good match and very close near fall for Ronnie G. But the outcome that I think probably most people expected.
Yeah, but at least he's proven himself against one of the toughest opponents in Kamikaze. We move on to some tag team action. We had the House of Heritage, which was Kieran McQueen and Will Stevens versus the Future is Meow. So obviously, I'm going to ask you a question here, Alex, because it's something I ask you. Is Sonny Vu Ho a cat?
No.
Okay. But Zach Walker, is he a cat? Because somehow he's a cat now.
No.
Is it like a
Despite
virus?
the fact, yeah, they both were wearing collars and eating Dreamies. This Sunday, I saw Zach Walker eat a lot of Dreamies.
He
An
went stone
unhealthy
cold
amount.
on them dreamies.
He's going to be sick, that child is.
And you know what
That's
messed
not
up?
a human diet.
I don't
And
think he realised they were fish ones.
he has a human digestive tract due to being a human.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is a team that I have faced before, and I'm really happy they've come to Kamikaze because they are fantastic. I think we've seen loads of great stuff out of both of them because they're hugely resilient and charismatic, younger, just beloved wrestlers. But together, I think there's something totally unique. I think it's something that's great for Zach because it sets him apart from the Nate Rileys and the Edgar Adams. Kamikaze has loads of high-flying athletes, but they don't have many people like this. And these two really know each other well. They work together really well, and they embrace their idea of make-believe that they are indeed cats.
So we kick off. Neither of them wanted to be in the ring. They kept tagging each other in. Just like neither one of them wanted to fight Will Stevens. Eventually, Kieran was in the ring, and they licked Kieran.
Yeah.
They licked the man.
I don't think we said much about House of Heritage there other than just their names. But obviously, they are way more experienced and they are a team, not just
this
in
variant
House of Heritage
as well, yeah.
Yeah, they've been a team for a long, long time of Kieran and Will. Obviously, they've changed the name since joining up with Sam and becoming House of Heritage. We've mentioned how that's been great for all of them, but I don't think any amount of experience will prepare you for somebody giving you a lick or a bite or a scratch or putting ears on you or meowing at you or wafting their tail in your face.
Exactly, but they were experienced enough to go, you know what, if they're going to be like cats, let's bring out some Dreamies. Kamikaze sponsored by Dreamies? Is this team? No other brand of cat food has ever been used.
That's true.
Dreamies, Zach was in control, and then Vuho took over. Stevens hit a massive power slam. I think he had enough of the shenanigans at that point. Stevens is very much, he'll allow stuff to go on for a bit, and he went, you know what, I'm done now.
Yeah.
Hughes was outside as well. He distracted Nos with a toy because, you know what, he's a cat supposedly.
Yeah, and this is where playing into that make-believe cost them because Sun Vu Ho chased the little cat toy around the ring while Zach Walker got double-teamed. He tried to break free and make a tag. No one was there, and he walked right into some very nice double teams from House of Heritage. I will admit, they were on really good cohesive form were Kieran McQueen and Will Stevens, the actual members who were in the match. Sam
Yep.
Hughes was just there being a rascal on the outside.
A red-headed rascal. Nos finally got the tag, and well, Vuho, sorry, I keep going for his old name. Zach went for a swanton. Then Hughes grabbed McQueen's foot onto the rope, so that was going to pick up the win because McQueen was out
Yeah,
at
we've
that point.
seen this combination before from the Futurist, and it's a backstabber in the ropes from Sun Vu Ho, and the swanton while they're still on the knees of Sun Vu Ho, which is a real tight angled swanton, but Zach is, as we said, incredibly athletic and incredibly agile, so he can thread the needle with that swanton, and it really sandwiches the opponent in between two horrible, hard places, and they get crushed in the center. Yeah, you're right. It was absolutely going to pick up the win if it weren't for Samuel Hughes.
Exactly. Then the House Heritage took complete control. Will hit a German, which McQueen went straight for a PK, I believe, on Vuho. It might have been on Walker. But the finish was definitely on Vuho. So
let's mention before, really briefly, let's skip back a little second. During Chantal versus Ronnie G, we didn't mention it at the time, and that's probably because it's completely slipped our minds based on what's coming up. But Chantal had only 2 weeks before broken her nose. She's still incredibly bruised around here, and the nose is sort of misaligned. And during this match, I think when they both traded clotheslines and both went down, it got rattled and she suffered a nosebleed. Now, that was a bit of blood. Sun Vu Ho, on the other hand, he soon erased all of that from our minds because he got his teeth kicked in by House of Heritage, and it was like a horror scene. It was like his mouth filled with blood, and then when he opened it, it just gushed out all over his face. It was graphic. It was scary. It was the win, that's for sure. I think we all knew that as soon as we saw that double team move, that he was down for 3.
So yeah, normally it's Will Stevens does a stalling pole driver, and McQueen will then hit a PK via that pole driver. Normally it's like in the top, like neck, chest. Guillermo kicked him straight in the face. Like there was, it was like if you could say the most perfect like hit, it was perfectly in the middle of his face.
Yeah,
Vuho was done, and the match was done. And House Heritage picked up a big win.
Yeah, it's a shame, I think, for the Futurists now because they really wanted to start hot, and they are a great team who've had no success really so far. They've managed to get a lot of opportunities, but it is tough, not just in Kamikaze, but everywhere when you're a brand new team because tag team wrestling is less popular, or at least less frequent, which means when you face another tag team, they are probably more experienced than you, as we see here. Whereas when you face singles wrestlers, you're going to find some who are about your level, who've wrestled the same number of matches as you. When you're a new team, probably every team you face has had loads more matches than you, because there's only a couple of tag team matches on every show.
Exactly. So experience there, but Futures Meow are doing very well. We moved on. Next matchup at this point was Samuel Hughes, which I'm going to throw out straight away. I love this, that the entrant, obviously House Heritage won, so they did their entrant leaving, exit leaving, and then the music kicked back in, and then here comes Samuel Hughes. he could have just stayed at the ring, couldn't he?
Yeah. I think he wanted the attention.
And he was facing Coach Mahan, and Samuel Hughes' mic work on this bit was fantastic. Loved every part of it. Everyone was fully integrated in it. Sam was basically saying, "Oh, it's the 10th anniversary. You know, we all love it here. We've got this, that."
He was saying it's an anniversary.
Yeah,
we all love it here.
Yeah. And then eventually, you know, he just basically pulled him. He pulled himself to the moon. He didn't care about what everyone else was saying.
Yeah, I think he was more celebrating his own anniversary than what we thought he might be talking about, the Kamikaze 10th anniversary show. He lured us in with his love of the anniversary. He sounded very sincere. The crowd awed and oohed and round of applause. But yeah, it was all about the Samuel Hughes anniversary, the House of Heritage anniversary, and I don't think he cares much for the rest of Kamikaze.
And he definitely doesn't. So this match, Coach straight to detention for Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes was having none of that. Didn't care a lick. Both guys were fighting. Sam got knocked outside. Coach hit a massive crossbody to the outside, taking out Sam. Hughes was then in full control throughout a lot of this. Few shotgun dropkick, sidewalk slams. Then Coach hit like a handstand splash, which is quite new to his arsenal. I've not seen him do it before,
Yeah.
unless I've missed it completely.
I've seen him do it before, but whether it's been on a pro live or just because he trains in my class and we've seen him on many other shows, it was a very impressive offense though, and I hope he keeps it because it's something really unique.
Yeah, it's always nice to see different things from different people and they're not using like paint by numbers moves. Followed by a Tornado TT, DDT, but it was kind of too little too late for Coach. He took a lot of battering throughout the match, so that spur, and Sam did pick up the win. And the House of Heritage had a fantastic night.
Yeah, and they've had a good run this year. They've had a very good 2024. There's been a few bumps in the road, but predominantly their records this year, I think, will, so far, the year's still a long way to go, really outweigh their records from last year in terms of win percentage. Samuel Hughes, again, I think probably is on one of the runs of his life, and you'd expect to win this match because he's elevated himself far and above where he was, and it's really impressive. You can see he's in great shape. His mastery of the crowd has obviously improved, as we saw in that promo. He doesn't let them get to him quite so much. And it's just really, since he rejected the crowd almost 18 months ago now, he's just gotten better and better and better. Coach, on the other hand, is also getting better, though. So, although he started a lot later, obviously, than Samuel Hughes, every match he has is better than the previous one. And there was a bit of a lull in Coach's early years, I think, when it looked like maybe he was being carried by his Dream Chasers tag partner, Ronnie G, who was kind of the breakout star of that team. And now I think Coach has really put the graft in. And we saw him pick up a belt in another promotion this weekend. We've seen him finally venture outside of Kamikaze and wrestle other people. You think he's really absorbing that a lot better than people sometimes do when they first leave. And he's becoming a more complete pro wrestler.
Yeah, exactly. I rate this 2.5 stars. A decent matchup. Sam has said he's going some places now, and Coach it sounds weird because there wasn't much difference between them, but he is stepping out the side of the Ronnie G shadow now. It feels like.
Yeah.
It's more that Ronnie G's the charismatic one, and that's what it is. Rick rolling music and everything like that. Everyone's going to be on board. But Coach is doing well for himself. We move on to Edgar Adams versus Luke Douglas. So a bit more of experience kind of matchup. Luke Douglas and Edgar grapped for the start of the match, very technical grappling, which Luke was obviously going towards grounding the faster man down.
Yeah, this is going to be the match where I contribute the least, as we'll find out shortly. Obviously, this was directly before my match, so I was off comms. I did watch as much as I could because there is a monitor backstage, and I think that's just smart strategy from Luke Douglas. He's a smart wrestler, and if you keep it technical, you'd like to think Luke Douglas wins with a power advantage, but realistically, neither of these are technical first wrestlers. No. Luke Douglas is the striker, and Edgar is the speed.
Exactly. So the chain wrestle bit, then they went for a test of strength, which obviously Luke was more powerful at that point. Got him outside, Edgar, and then I've wrote here it wasn't a basement drop kick. I'll call it a first floor drop kick where you go through the above the first rope, because I don't think there's an actual name. It's just a diving drop kick, otherwise I'm guessing. This was followed by Edgar coming back in and hitting a massive dive because Edgar, the pace he runs at, it's always going to be a massive dive because he's not going to slow down for his own health. Double chops at that point, Luke was chopping the hell out of Edgar. He then hit a move that he's bringing back, the stroke. The man loves the stroke, and what I loved about it was he called the guy in the front row slapnuts. That's what I loved about it the most. So this guy called out Luke for in the stroke on the previous show, going, "What has Jeff Jarrett done?" And Luke was just like, "The amount of NWA titles this guy's won." So then, he just called him Slapnuts next show. Beautiful. Edgar then followed up with a rolling roll through flatliner, which he's kind of thrown into his arsenal at that point. Luke then, it was like move for move. He had the good old Alex Connors special, which we're calling from now on.
Yeah, Alex Connor's favourite move.
Alex Connors' favourite move. Then there was a horrible moment. Edgar went for a poison Rama, and a poison Rana's horrible anyway. No matter which way you go, you're gonna land terribly. But Luke landed awkwardly, which it looked brutal. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
In a wrestling sense, is good. Douglas's head, he hit his head
Yeah,
off the rope.
the Poison Rana, it sounds very strange if you've not been in the ring,
Yeah.
because it is a horrific move. It really is. Once you know that there's no avoiding it, once you feel the weight shift and you go back, at that point, you've got to try to go with the momentum and almost roll through. It's still going to hurt, but it won't put any pressure through your neck. You'll roll over the top of your head. You're still going to get bumped. You're going to get a nice little bruise or maybe a lump on the top of your head, but you'll be able to roll out of it. If you try and fight it the whole time, their legs are more powerful than any part of your body.
Yeah.
Legs are the bigger muscles. So if you try and stay fighting it, they've got gravity and leg muscles against just your neck muscles, and you're going to get stacked right up on your neck, and that is what happened to Luke Douglas right near the ropes. I think that Luke knows this. I think he was trying not to go with it because I thought he feared going out of the ring because it was so close to the ropes. He was going to get dumped on his head and then dumped to the concrete floor. So he tried to right himself, and he got stacked up.
Yeah.
I did see that.
Because with a normal Hurricane Runner, when you go in the first way, at least you can brace yourself. You can kind of work and brace yourself. Whereas you're going backwards. It's like you're just accepting it may be happening. Edgar then went for the frog splash, missed that. Luke hit a massive forearm powerbomb into a super kick. Near fall on that, which was a big surprise. Both guys started slapping each other at that point. It was just more not in the strikes, it was just the full-on slaps. There was a pop-up cutter by Edgar, just out of nowhere. And then he picked up the win going to the well again with the frog splash, but he actually hit it this time. And I rated it 3 stars. It was a very fun match.
Yeah, very important match, I think, with Edgar, because he needs momentum, as we're going to discuss later on.
About that match.
Yeah. So this win for Edgar, we know that quite recently in the story of Zeros to Heroes, Nate Riley has been suddenly the one on a run. And this show felt like Edgar's attempt to try and retake his spot in this friendly rivalry. We know that they're friends, that they're a tag team. Zeros to Heroes, Edgar Adams and Nate Riley work together fantastically well. They get along fantastically well. But there's always this underlying who is the face of Kamikaze Dojo 2.0. And it's been Edgar for a long, long time until Rise of the Emperor, when Nate seems like he's took it away and Edgar really needed to get the momentum back. Luke, I think, is in need of more wins because this has been a very up and down year for him so far.
Yeah, it's been a big struggle. It's just very up and down. But he might have a chance at the next show. With, I'm going to mention now, HCW's favourite tag team are going to be facing the Futures Meow. And you know what? They're going to murder some cats. Let's go.
Well, as a tag team, HCW's favourite tag team is already 1-0 from this weekend.
Yep.
And I've already 1-0'd against the Futures Meow, so we're looking forward to it. Yep. I'm very excited to be working with Luke Douglas, considering we've never teamed at Kamikaze. Quite a surprise, as I've worked with most of the wrestlers, because Kamikaze does throw these strange tag matches together.
Frankenstein,
Yeah, but never with Luke before. But we seem to have found ourselves on the same page on a number of issues, hating Carl being one of them, which we can also discuss later. As well as most multi-man matches, we seem to have clicked quite well with some offense. So let's see how it works in a tag team match.
Exactly, and we'll get a bit more into that in the main event I forgot existed, because I've not really wrote many notes on. So next up, we had a match that involved Alex Dean versus Alex Connors in the Battle of the Alexes.
And the winner gets to keep their name.
Exactly.
And the loser gets no name. They will never be named again. they'll only be referred to by pronouns.
Pal. Just get that in. So I will be the first person, forever known as the first person that Alex Dean randomly sang his song to at, because I was at the bar. So this started with a bit of a tango.
Yes, Alex Dean, this is his debut match of all time in anywhere. This is his first match in front of, well, his first match in front of any kind of crowd. Obviously, when you go through training matches when you're training, you will have had full length matches. You'll have fought somebody to the end, but this is the first time he's been in front of a paying crowd and done that. So in his debut, he thought he'd start by doing a bit of a dance, doing some dodging out the way of offense with some more dances, and then trying to get me to participate in a bit of a dance, which was a bold move. And let's also not forget he was accompanied by John the Duck, who came with an official managerial license. And it seems to me like only one GM would give an official managerial license to a plushy duck. Carl.
Yeah. So Carl's full back in swing, and he's had a few shows off. First thing he does, managerial license to a plushie. So it said a bit of a tango, but Dean showed he can wrestle a bit. He threw a cravat in. Not many people throw a cravat in. I love a cravat. Not the actual netwear, the move. He was then trying a few roll-ups at this point. I think he realised, you know what, I need to get this over with. You were kicking out straight away, though. Started lying on his back at one point. Tried to catch you into an armbar.
The classic Lady in the Lake maneuver from the old World of Sport days. We often talk about how, or at least we have since Blake Violet debuted quite a while ago, how a lot of the Kamikaze guys came from the same mold, that they have a similar style. And we mentioned Blake Violet being a little bit different from that style, being the brawler. Well, Alex Dean, I think, also did a great job of being a little bit different 100%. And being the technician. Yeah, working that cravat. He had a lot of counters and maneuvers into the cravat. And then he worked a few World of Sport style maneuvers, similar to Russ Abbott and the Johnny Saint Lady in the Lake maneuvers, designed to catch your opponent off guard and get quick wins, which I think is actually a good game plan if you're in your first match and you're against someone with more experience who's probably outlasted you, because you're going to have bad cardio in your first match, no matter how good your cardio is, because you're going to be nervous and you're going to be in front of a crowd for the first time and you're going to have that adrenaline pumping. So you want to get it over with quickly and pick up a win. So I thought that was smart strategy from Alex Dean, and it was different to what we see from most people.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people try and drag the match out. Well, you know, if you know, it's the worst thing you do. The experienced guy is going to have more gas in the tank.
And they're just going to know what to do later in a match, and they're going to know what to do when they are gassed, because they'll have been in it 100 times before. Whereas if you're a person who's wrestling your first match, you don't actually know what you need to do to dig that deep. You don't actually know what effect the crowd will have on you. You don't know what you'll wrestle like after you've been battered. Because I see a lot of people in training, and they can do a fantastic flip when they are fresh on minute one of a match. Can you do a fantastic flip 15 minutes in? So, yeah, I thought this was a genius move from Alex Dean, and he really was quite a crisp technician.
Yeah, very, very fun in the ring. Followed forearms to the back of the neck. There was a head scissors. Love a head scissors as well. Haven't seen them in a while. He hit a big dive, so he can show he's got the athleticism there. You then decided, you know what, I'm done with this. Shotgun dropkick. Then the knee bow and arrow kind of stretch submission. Dean tried to fight back. He then got a cross facing.
He did, yeah. I mean, you've missed, I think, a big moment in the match where he got powerbombed from the top rope, if you recall.
I think I enjoyed it that much. Sometimes stuff happens. Well, that's amazing. I forget to write stuff down.
Like Alex Dean definitely had a great flurry. He did he actually did a cannonball off the apron, got a lot of height on it, and hit a flip dive from the apron, which is quite difficult because there's no run up like you see with most of these dives. He was cut off with a shotgun dropkick. And then, soon after, when he tried to stay alive and stay in the match, he got sunset flip powerbombed from the top rope, which really stacked him on his head.
Yeah, And you followed this up by another manoeuvre later from the technically from the top rope, middle rope, DDT, kind of the edge kind of variant, like you just wanted to kill the man, didn't you?
Yeah, it was an embarrassing opening salvo from Alex Dean, so I wanted to put him in his place. Um, Technical wrestling is normally where I would excel over my opponents, so this was definitely a scary moment where it seemed like Alex really was up on his technical wrestling, and I couldn't catch him off guard with any fancy submissions or anything like that. So instead, I wondered how often he'd practiced being dropped on his head from the top, and apparently not more than twice.
Not more than twice. You then grabbed the duck,
John?
threw the duck in the air, good old John, and obviously that took more precedent than the match for Alex. Leaping Kamikaze, and then Crown of Thorns to just annihilate him. That's the third time he
Yeah.
got dropped on his head in that match.
Yeah, the duck got threatened a few times, and you could tell that it actually did mean quite a lot to Alex Dean. I don't know what's going on in his head. I think he needs to find God rather than find John the Duck. But I realised after I'd seen his reactions earlier in the match to threatening of John, that if I threatened John to the point that Alex had to dive in the way, I thought maybe he would, and he did. And my knee was there, and then my foot, and then my other knee. So yeah, all good stuff. But yeah, very, I think, impressive opening from Alex Dean. We saw him get announced immediately for the next show,
Yep.
which means he impressed Kamikaze management because that's not always the case. As we've seen with a lot of debuts, it's normally one in, one out sort of thing because there's so
a lot
many.
of them, yeah.
So yeah, he's done a fantastic job. He's really impressed. His technical skills were there. Obviously, the crowd loved him because of his dancing antics. And yeah, a fantastic first match. Let's see how he does in his second match. He has got Samuel Hughes.
Yeah, that's going to be a big match for him, but also Sam's on a roll right now. And I don't think he's going to take well to the Duck if he is allowed to have a manager's license again, which he will because Carl is weird.
Because Carl. A statement needs to be made, I think, from Sam, and this is a vote of confidence from Kamikaze management. Because Sam, I don't believe, really often wrestles people's first few matches.
No.
So it's a big chance to get embarrassed. Normally, and we've probably mentioned it 100 times, but most people's first few matches is going to be me, Luke Douglas, Chantel Jordan, maybe, George, maybe. Because obviously Kamikaze doesn't want people who are going to get embarrassed by a quick loss to a new trainee. So Samuel Hughes, a chance to wrestle someone's early matches. That's a new realm for him. Hopefully it's a great match, and hopefully Samuel Hughes impresses and makes a statement.
Yeah. So the match are rated 2 3/4. Fun match. And a good outing for Alex Connors and Alex Dean. But unfortunately, the man with no name will be his name going forward.
Hey you. Yeah, you. Do you like this video? There is a button. It's a very sexy button. It says subscribe on it. I wish I could click on it, but YouTube won't let me. Damn fuckers.
Next up, as I said, I in my Mandela effect, I thought this was the main event, and then I just remembered the actual main event. So we had Nate Riley, Rise of the Emperor tournament winner, cashing in technically against George Lydon, conquering champ.
I was so excited to watch this match. I commentated the end of my own match. So I
forgot about that. That was brilliant.
This one.
Yeah, you just tell him to go and you sat back down, didn't you?
Yeah, I rolled straight out of the ring, sat on commentary, talked about the fantastic performance we'd just seen from Alex Connors and Alex Dean, so that I was ready to commentate this one because I was very excited for it.
And I was excited, and it didn't prove us wrong. So it was a very cagey start from both people at the start. George normally now shows a bit of cockiness, but he wasn't showing it in this match. I don't know if he saw, obviously, Nate Riley's gone through 3 people. He's a different mold to what he faced originally, which when Nate was like on a 3 or 4 losing streak, only got the championship because he was in Over the Top Rumble. Nate hit a dive. That's where I wanted to go at that point. They both started trading kicks to the back. which is always fun to see. Lydon was then wearing down Nate. I think he realised I need to kind of quell this. Then Lydon, out of actual aggression, they were both fighting outside, and he just threw Nate into a wall. He shouted, "Move whatever your name is," to I'm guessing it's a random trainee.
Yeah.
Launched him. That trainee was either going to move or take a flying Nate Riley.
Yeah. And this seems like a good point to bring up the crowd reaction, because we can't ignore it. The crowd was solidly behind Nate Riley.
Fully behind, yeah.
Yeah, which is very interesting, because I thought Nate Riley had maybe irked some of the crowd during Rise of the Emperor, because he clearly pushed the boundaries of what was legal.
Yep.
It looked like we were going to get a darker side of Nate Riley at Rise of the Emperor. He just reined it in. He was this close to basically turning his back on the crowd at Rise of the Emperor. So I thought, Nate Riley's going to get a few boos, maybe, a few people who have lost faith in him. Completely wrong. The crowd were electric for Nate Riley, and that gave us the opposite effect for George Lydon. And for the first time, fan favourite George Lydon actually was receiving maybe not the crowd's love.
And he looked a bit, he was taking the bitterness out of it on Nate. He said, threw him into the wall, Yakuza kick, which he threw through the chairs, followed by a senton in the ring. He was hitting some Gunther-esque chops. Like the actual, like, not probably the power, but the sound of them were horrific. Nate then replied with the springboard kick that he does, which is kind of like a flipping kick. Very Osprey-esque for people that are aware of that move. Cheeky Nando's, 619, Cheeky Nando's 619 he does.
Nate 19.
Nate 19, is that what he's classed as? Flying into a flying forearm from the top. George then did a catch German suplex straight into a tiger suplex. Nate followed this up by a Spanish fly. Just sounds like I'm naming moves here.
Yeah, this sequence was incredibly fast-paced as well. That set of moves you've just named was just rapid fire, one after the other after the other. As soon as one person hit, you'd see them take a breath, thinking that the other person was down for at least one whole breath's worth, and they would immediately get caught by the next move. It was rapid fire.
Absolutely machine gun moves. They had a forearm battle at that point, striking each other. George got on top, went back to the flying headbutt, which he's thrown into his arsenal now, which, you know, everyone loves a flying headbutt.
I love this combination because he's hitting this cross-body, forward roll, leap straight up, flying headbutt.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that during that sequence, Nate Riley rolled away, so he was on the other side of the ring.
Yeah.
Smart move. Then you're out of range. Nope. George leapt the entire length of the ring. He probably was in the air for about 15 feet, I think, before he hit with that headbutt.
And what I like about George's headbutt, it isn't like the good old like fall kind of like that. It's like the Takeshi just flipping. I'm just going to throw my whole head at someone. Lydon, where we go, flying headbutt. Lydon diving headbutt. Then he got thrown full into a wall. This is like over the top rope. Like,
he wasn't thrown.
He dived, didn't he? Yeah. He dove at the wall. That's all. Oh, that was even worse. Yeah.
This was the counter effect of trying to use your head as a weapon, because he went for the same thing, but Nate Riley was on the outside, and George went tope suicida style. We have Nate Riley. Here we go, fans. We have George coming out of the ring. He's high up in the air. He's coming straight on. Nate moved, and there's just a flat wall that George just went head first into. And that is a good 5 feet, 4 or 5 feet away from the ring.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a normal kind of dive of the rope. He ran at that wall.
Yeah, he had to be moving so fast to go through the second and third rope, continue straight horizontally. He would have taken Nate Riley's head off. It would have been a Darby Allin or even an Edgar Adams style dive if he'd have hit it. Nate moved, and all that momentum into a brick wall. That was a moment that I have never seen before.
And hopefully never see again.
Yeah.
Nate capitalised and hit an Angel's Wings. Which I thought he got the win at this point because George was done, but he got his foot on the rope because, you know, bit of experience, you know, just stretch your foot out and hope for the best at that point. Nate hit a super kick. George followed up with his Stan Hansen lariat. So I'm just going to throw this and hope for the best kind of
Yeah.
stance and nonsense. Lydon at this point was knackered. I've never seen him this kind of like done. Like obviously
Yeah.
he's just ran into a wall, which is fair enough. You know?
He was out. Yeah.
Pole driver on the apron kind of did it though. He kind of knocked him back in for a bit. Couldn't get anything from that. Then poor Adam, the referee Adam, got in the way, got knocked out.
Yeah.
Lloyd,
Before Adam was knocked out, this
yeah,
was another moment where, on that Angel's Wings that you're referring to, I believe we saw Adam actually physically count 3, but he
yes,
noticed, yeah, and so the crowd got that moment of eruption because we saw the hand 1, 2, 3. Oh no! I saw that it was broken up before my hand hit, whether it was the shoulder or something in the ropes. But he saw something
yeah,
just as his hand was coming down, but the momentum of his hand carried it down to the mat, and the whole building thought Nate Riley had won. They came unglued, and he hadn't won. And again, that seemed to turn the crowd almost against George.
yeah. I think that was after a Trojan lock driver. Nate also had a visual freak out as well when the referee was down.
Yeah, you're right. That was Nate Riley hitting the Tiger Driver onto George in using his own finishing move against him.
Yeah, which visual free. He had a visual freak out when the ref was down, not to see.
Yeah.
Nate threw a bottle of water against the wall, which I thought he was taking someone else. He was angry at that point.
Yeah.
Nate was then.
And again, you thought maybe that was the dark side of Nate Riley. Like, is he going to bend the rules? Is he going to go underhanded here? And honestly, I believe, and this is a moment that we never thought we'd reach, I believe the crowd would have been okay with it. I think they'd have cheered if, in that moment of anger, Nate Riley had grabbed a belt or a chair and just knocked George out because they were so behind him.
I would have been okay with it. Lydon obviously visually pinned. Nate was then caught by a super kick after he got back in the ring. Lydon hit a bomb. His Lydon bomb didn't get the fall. As we mentioned, Tiger Driver via Nate, who got a vision, and the ref counted 3. Obviously Cole then, as the good GM he is, he went, that's a visual free count. Let's no, obviously that didn't happen. Lydon.
Yeah, I did. I saw Carl at the show, and I mentioned a few times because Carl was actually on commentary with me for some of these matches, and I saw some cheating going on, and I thought, Carl, you restart matches with cheating, don't you? Or is that just me?
Yeah. Just you, Alex. Visual count. Lydon then hit a massive lariat, and then he hit 2 massive power bombs to put Nate away. Right, this 4 1/4 stars. It was impressive.
Incredible.
This match, really, really impressive matchup. Catapulted Nate Miles.
Yeah, Nate's probably best match of his career so far, and he had some good ones in his early days. I've always thought we've produced good matches if I've wrestled Nate. He really, I think, comes to life when he's actually wrestling bigger.
Underneath.
And George is not massive, but he raises his game to the standard of the people he's against. He doesn't really like the comedy aspects. He doesn't really like the fun in the games that some of the younger guys come in with. But when somebody's going to take it seriously and throw everything at him, I think that's what he relishes. And that was a really good point here where it looked like he was going to win. Obviously, personally, I'm a George Lydon fan. I have respect for George Lydon, and I want to beat him for the belt myself. So I was pulling for George Lydon, but Nate blew me away. An incredible performance, as did George, because he won that match after suicide diving a brick wall, just head on, nothing in between. Anyone who doesn't believe us, who's watching this and hasn't seen the match, go and get the on-demand just to watch George Lydon suicide dive head first into a brick wall.
Yeah, George, at the end of that match, his body was there. The spirit was, I don't think it was just, it wasn't in his body. But yeah, really, really incredible match. And that was the end of the show. So we move on to a mystery battle royale. I'll be honest, I didn't write many, battle royals don't write many notes on round. This was chaos, if I remember. So most of the people on the show were in the match, except for obviously Nate and George, because they've just had a hell of a match. We had people like Danny Sky was in the match as well.
Yeah, there was a few additions.
Blake.
I was going to say the Ring Gremlin, Blake Violet, Danny Sky, from off the top of my head.
Yeah. So the rules of this match were Carl would just say a random match type, and
Yeah.
so the first was submissions.
Yeah, so originally the rules seemed to be, because no one knew on the way to the ring,
Yeah.
that Colin would say a random match type, and that's how you would get eliminated.
Mhm.
But then when we reach the end, that seems to change. So
Oh yeah, we'll get there.
who knows what he's doing? But to begin with, I think we started with 12 people in the ring, perhaps maybe 15, until we get down to about the final few. Until we get down to at least the last 4, the rules were Colin would name a stipulation, and that's how you'd get eliminated, which is a much better concept than the previous Mystery Battle Royal, which I absolutely hated, as we know. I thought that was a unique and interesting concept.
16 people, just to confirm. I was just counting them out. Yeah, JC was also in it. Is there anyone else that wasn't on the show? Yeah, JC, Ring Gremlin, Danny Sky, and Blake Violet, and everyone else was on the show except for Nate and George.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had submissions. Blake Violet was the first to be submitted, which was the biggest surprise. You know, the man that enjoys pain got submitted, unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't see every elimination here because I was obviously in this match, so I saw a lot of it. But because it was a false count anywhere brawl that took up the whole dojo, I brawled outside at one point. I was in the bathroom at one point. I was up the stairs at one point. This was chaos, so I didn't see every elimination. I did see some submission trains going on where somebody saw a submission, thought, well, they're undefended, I'll go whack a submission on, and then someone would whack a submission on them, and it would snake across the whole ring.
Yeah. So a few people were submitted, as I said, I haven't got full on notes. A few people were submitted and eliminated at that point. It then moved into a reverse battle royale, where, for anyone that's not seen it, very Impact TNA style. You're all outside the ring and you've got to eliminate people by throwing them in the ring.
Yeah, Impact actually, they had what they called a reverse battle royal, but it was
you had to jump
the first people who got in. So theirs was like there was 16 people. The first 8 who got in moved to the next match type, which would be a normal battle royal or whatever. Whereas this one was you got eliminated if you were thrown into the ring.
Yeah, and that was a thing. Then we move on to I think it was Falls Count Anywhere was next.
Yeah, and this is the point where
it went mental.
Yeah, this is where Carl just starts making up his own rules, as he always does. Because this wasn't elimination. This was the first 2 falls.
Yeah, so there was 6 people. So in my head, it was either 3 people are being eliminated or 3 people are getting through to the final. So there was you, Edgar, Luke Douglas, Sonny Vu Ho,
Ronnie
G, and I can't remember the 6th person. Either way, Edgar got through from pinning someone. Was it yourself that got through? It was yourself that got through.
Yes.
And then,
for the second time in a row, I've reached the final 2 of a Mystery Battle Royal. My least favourite match type, and not been able to pick up the win.
There we go. There's there's always next time, Alex. I
hope there isn't.
So Sonny Noss and Luke Douglas were Sonny Vuho and Luke Douglas were left, and we were thinking, it's going to be between them 2 to get to the final. Nope, just eliminated. Luke Douglas was not happy at all because it made no sense. Threatened Cole.
Neither was I, because I was hoping that me and Luke would get the 2-on-1 advantage on Edgar Adams, as we've been working together a little bit in this match already. Hence the tag team match coming up. So both me and Luke were pretty furious at Carl and made it known. But yeah, he just decided after it had happened, and me and Edgar were still brawling with everyone else, thinking we had to eliminate them.
Do you know why he did it, though? Do you know why?
Yeah,
because he saw that, Alex Connors and Luke Douglas may be in the final of this, my 2 most hated people. I'm gonna twist it round, conspiracies and all that. There's none around, but yeah, it was Edgar versus Alex. Yourself, Edgar did pick up the win, and
suddenly it was a. We also missed where you could only win by hitting certain moves.
Oh, God. It was a stunner, pedigree, and rock bottom. Yeah. Ronnie G was in this match. Rock bottom was one of the moves.
Super bias, obviously, from Carl there. And then the final 2, just when I thought I was going to pick up the win and pin Edgar Adams, because he had been a bit more battered. And also, he'd gone through a very tough match with Luke Douglas. Then suddenly Carl changed it to a normal battle royal, a one-on-one normal battle royal. Ridiculous. Terrible work from Carl, spoiling everyone's evening after a fantastic Nate Riley versus George Lydon match. And I think we can all agree, Carl out.
Carl out. Rated 2.25 stars because good grief.
Much higher than it deserves.
Yeah, like there was fun elements in it. As I said, like the rant, I liked the stuff, even though I completely forgot about the finisher part, where I'm sure 2 people got eliminated by the same finisher. Then the third person also hit the same finisher, and then you're not allowed. Like they mentioned at the start, you can't do the same finisher. So it was that much of a cluster that some things were funny.
Well, I think Ring Gremlin ended up getting hit with all the finishers because we weren't sure which one hadn't been used. So we hit
like that. It's
one.
like that's funny.
Yeah. I think if you were there in person, and you really should be there in person when watching a Kamikaze Pro live for this kind of thing, because it was all across the building. You were definitely going to get somebody brawling up your row of chairs. You were definitely going to see something that probably the people watching at home will never see, because you can only have one camera up at a time on your on-demand service. You need basically a multi-screen roaming camera to capture all of this match. I was outside, I was in the bathrooms, we were upstairs, there was people brawling under the ring. We didn't even know Ring Gremlin was in the match for the first few minutes, because he started under the ring. So yeah, it was a very engaging live experience. Not saying I approve of any more mystery battle royals, though.
But it improved. It was better than the original one.
It was much better than
the original one. The original one was awful.
Yeah, the original one was absolutely beyond a doubt my least favourite match type I've ever been a part of, and this one was comfortably my second least.
Second so far.
So far. More mystery battle royals to come.
So, as usual, like and subscribe. There'll be Sky's the Limit review at some point in life, but I've got like 55 reviews I'm doing. Bridge, DCW.
The reason Premium. This one is so late is we've been away all weekend, both on many other shows. I've had 5 matches this weekend. Rate's seen 3 shows, so they've all got to be reviewed. It has been very busy. And it means we've had even less time to do reviews because we've been on shows.
Yeah, and I was stalking Nate Riley around the country. Every show I was at, he was at. Called me out in the second show and said, "Stop stalking me. It's not going to happen." My reply, which I think made him crack slightly, was like, "See you tomorrow, Nate," which was the... But yeah, as usual, like and subscribe. We'll get stuff out. I'm doing a WrestleMania 2K series showcase, because I thought I might as well do that because I've got the game and people enjoy that. Wrestle Connect.
And watch Wrestle Connect.
Yeah,
just had a great Wrestle Connect.
Yeah, that was probably my favourite ever Wrestle Connect. It was fun.
Yeah. It was a great Wrestle Connect. Tune in. You'll get a lot of entertainment as well as some interesting trivia questions.
Yep, and some aggression towards me. And we might flight and fight. We're on the show. That's the people that were on the show. But yeah, is there anything you'd like to mention before we let this go?
No, other than pop along to Kamikaze Pro Live on the next one, because it has been an absolute incredible show lately. They think 2024 has really picked back up to the previous levels that Kamikaze were made famous from. So if you were thinking that Kamikaze had been a little bit out since COVID, and obviously it did really rein back the number of shows, 2024 absolutely is the year that Kamikaze is back in full swing. So get down and watch one.
Yep, Friday, May 10th at the Kamikaze Dojo, only 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from New Street. It's going to be a banger once again. But yeah, my final word. Oh my God, what's happened here? Final words on this show. Carl out.
Carl out.